What does a nature reserve, a 1,000-year-old castle and an Iron Age hill fort have in common? Well, I guess probably very little. However, they're all on today's walk. Welcome to Totternhoe.
The parish of Totternhoe covers an area of some 2,321 acres, of which over half is arable land. This short but historic walk reveals the remains of earthworks of an ancient hill fort in an area which marks the southerly limit of the frozen wastes of the Ice Age.
It's quite a historically significant area, certainly in terms of archaeology. Maiden Bower is just one of many interesting aspects. They've got a Roman villa, they've got a Norman castle, so it's quite exciting.
Making our way from the car park at the southerly tip, the path leads us towards a nature reserve which was set up to encourage the growth of wildlife in the area. We then pass the quarry works at the most northwesterly point. The chalky trail widens, passing woodlands and arable land and overlooking the chalky cliff faces of the ancient quarried ground. At the most northeasterly point we encounter Maiden Bower, a Neolithic causeway enclosure which has been masked by the latter Iron Age hill fort, which dominates the area. From here we follow the well-trodden path to complete our walk. Apart from this being a short walk, there is little chance of losing the trail, as on a sunny day, or any other day for that matter, the chalky trail quite literally lights your way. From here on, or at least until the next waypoint, you will be ascending at a gentle rate. You'll start to see some overlooking views to your left, with an opportunity to go off trail if you're feeling adventurous. The earthworks of Castle Hill are the remains of a late 11th or early 12th century motte and bailey castle. Little is known about the castle and why it was built, though it's thought that the builder may have been one of the Domesday lords, and the castle probably only used for a short period. Totternhoe Castle is the largest motte and bailey castle in Bedfordshire. Its importance is emphasised by the commanding position it holds on the chalk downland overlooking the Ousel Valley, which illustrates its strategic role in the establishment of control over the area in the years following the Norman conquest. The central defensive position within the castle, the moat, is a conical earthen mound about 5 metres tall, occupying the western end of the Totteridge Ridge, and crowned by a concrete ordnance survey triangulation point. The castle is of an unusual form, having 3 baileys surrounding the moat. This, in addition to its size, provides an indication of its significance within the line of Norman fortifications to which it belongs. Overlooking Ivanhoe Beacon, the earthwork summit makes an ideal spot for a lunch stop, as well as being a good vantage point to see what's ahead of the trail. It goes without saying that on a wet day, this part of the trail could be quite treacherous, with its very steep slopes. It's hardly surprising that the Normans had chosen this site for a fortification.
Ow. Ow. I think I've probably should have taken that path.
It's not long before we rejoin the main trail, leading us towards the quarry works and pastures. Exiting the small wood and crossing the deceivingly quiet road takes us past the Quarry Works entrance, and so begins our return path. As one might expect from a quarry works, there's quite a bit of noise in this immediate vicinity, ruining slightly the countryside tranquility. However, at this point there isn't much to look at, as the right side of this track is blocked off by a tall, stark-looking fence marking the works boundary.
This part of the walk heads east towards Maiden Bower, which is a couple of kilometres away from here. So, next stop, Maiden Bower.
An alternative route to the never-ending chalky paths would be to head north for a short way at waypoint 5 and follow the disused Buckingham Railway eastwards towards Seawall, and making an exit to rejoin the main path at any time. Totternhoe was an important source of stone in the medieval period, since the product, the soft stone known as Totternhoe clunch, was much in demand for carving and dressing.
The quarry itself is quite interesting. Totternhoe stone has been quarried there since the 12th century, and probably, previous to that. And it was used to build a lot of churches in the kind of Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire area. Certainly the church at Walken has Totternhoe stone, and Quarry House in Dunstable. So it's quite an important area.
Just 100 or so metres south of the trail, we climb slightly as we enter into the hill fort of Maiden Bower.
There's evidence to suggest that the area was occupied right through from the Neolithic to the Romano-British period. The most significant time being the Iron Age, which would have been sort of roughly kind of 4th century BC to 1st century AD. It would have been a single bank and ditch, which is still largely complete, although the ditch is no longer visible. Beneath the main hill fort, which is the most visible part of Maiden Bower, you've got an earlier Neolithic enclosure. It's a Neolithic causewayed enclosure. It's called causewayed because it's segmented ditches, and this forms a causeway into the centre of the enclosure. The entrance was excavated in 1913, and along with a potential timber gateway for the entrance, they found a large pit spanning the entire entrance. And at the bottom of the pit, they found the disarticulated remains of about 50 individuals. They have many purposes. Sometimes they seem to be used for ritual purposes, sometimes for settlement. It's only been partially excavated. As with the rest of Maiden Bower, there's been very limited excavations into it.
These ancient monuments won't be around forever, and although there are protection orders in place, misuse by the reckless few and the potential threat of property development with its influence on changing the law, it's anyone's guess as to how long these sites will survive. With much still to be discovered here, in archaeological terms at least, this area has a lot to offer. This is definitely a walk for the historian, and certainly worth it if just for those fantastic views across the Dunstable landscape. Either way, it doesn't disappoint.